Hey there, in this episode of the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast, I am chatting with the incredible Cheryl Sharp, founder and CEO of Pink Pig Financials, all about redefining what's possible in both business and life, especially as a single mum. Inspiring business mentor and award-winning accountant, Cheryl empowers women to find financial independence and create a life they love. Having battled low self worth, depression, and anxiety, working with a coach became her turning point. Now she shares her story to raise awareness of domestic abuse and inspire others to take control of their future. Through her mentoring, she walks alongside women, helping them achieve success on their terms. As an accountant, she makes finance less daunting and making sure women don't leave money matters at the bottom of their to do lists. Cheryl's journey is a true testament to resilience. After leaving an abusive relationship with two young sons and no financial support, she turned her life around and built a thriving business, all while being fully present for her family. Join us as we talk about finding balance as a mum in business, building a team that understands your life and values flexibility, taking control of your finances with small and manageable steps that help you grow your financial confidence, and how financial independence can empower you to create a life that is truly yours. Whether you're struggling to balance the demands of motherhood and business or you're feeling overwhelmed by your finances, Cheryl's strategies and story will not only help you believe that it is possible to create the life you dream of, no matter the challenges you're facing, but take those first steps towards making it happen too. So go grab your coffee, get cozy, and let's dive in. Welcome to the Unapologetic Mompreneur, the podcast for mums with an online business who are ready to take back their time, home, business, and self so they can restore the balance and thrive, both at home and at work, without feeling like they have to choose between the two. I'm your host, Sarah Dew, life and biz coach for mumpreneurs. I'm also a mum, stepmom, wife, introvert, breast cancer survivor, and your mentor for making a change for the better. I've learned how to go from surviving to thriving and unapologetically create a business I love and the life I want for me and my family without worrying about what other people think. And now I'm here to help you do the same. Because being an unapologetic mompreneur doesn't mean that we're selfish or that we don't care about others. It simply means that we are not afraid to show up as our true, authentic selves, to step into our purpose, do what we know is right for ourselves and the ones we love, and take the steps we need to take to make our dream life and business a reality. Join me each week where I'll be sharing all of my best tips and strategies, plus the occasional dose of tough but gentle love to help you feel empowered, motivated, and confident to take action so that you can become the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. So, are you ready to unapologetically create a business and life you love? Let's do this. Hey Cheryl, welcome to the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You are very, very welcome. It's great to connect with a fellow local coach as well. So I always love it. We're saying just before we jumped on, like, yeah, very excited when I see that somebody is relatively close, and actually found out that until a couple of years ago, we were actually in the same town as each other. And yeah, so very exciting. We're going to be diving into all things about building a business around having two young boys and being a single mom and all things money, confidence, and financial freedom. So I'm really looking forward to diving into everything that you are going to be sharing with us today. Just in case, before we dive in, anybody hasn't met you and they're watching on YouTube, listening on the podcast, do you want to just share a little bit about yourself, your journey, and everything that you do?
Yeah, so I'm Cheryl Sharp. I am the founder and CEO of Pink Pig Financials. I set up my business in 2014, not long after leaving an abusive marriage, to gain some financial independence, but also work flexibly around my two young boys, as you mentioned. At the time, they were 1 and 4. Flexible working wasn't really a thing back then. Um, Nor working from home or anything like that. So I couldn't really find a role that fitted. So I took the plunge and set up on my own, and it's been an amazing journey. And the work that I've done on myself over the last 4 or 5 years, especially, has helped me to progress my business. And it's also helped me to be in a place where I can now share my story a bit more openly, warts and all parts, and raise awareness for other survivors, show them what's possible, um, and yeah, work with other survivors as well to help them build a business and their financial independence.
That's incredible. It's just thank you for sharing. It's an amazing journey that you've been on. And a lot of times we start our businesses because we're passionate about something, but we also start them because we want that financial freedom and we want to be able to support our families and have the time with them. So I just think that's amazing that that's what you've been doing, especially like back in that day, in the time before everybody jumped on board of working from home and COVID and trying to juggle it all. And, I know what it was like, when I first had my boy and he was a baby, I still had my event management company and trying to juggle that when he was little with, unsocial hours and it didn't work. So that's amazing that you were able to just take that step and actually do something that fitted around and design it around your life.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it was a lot, but it came at the right time and helped me to see what I needed to see. And yeah, I always say that I'm nothing special. And if I can do it, then so can so many other people. But it's just, I think a lot of people feel that that's not for them or it's not possible or those voices in your head saying, oh, you can't do that. But many people can, many people are. So yeah, I think we've all got it in us somewhere. It's just believing in ourselves, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of that mindset work is so key, isn't it? And knowing that you can do it and being able to look at other people and say, hey, if they're doing it, I can do. That's so inspiring. And a lot of your clients and your community must really find that that has been really encouraging and supporting for them, knowing that other people have been going through the same thing that they have been going through. That is incredible. And the fact that your boys were so young when you started as well. And I know I paused and I became a stay-at-home mum for some time before I started the business that I have now 8 years ago. And my boy is now 14. So kind of doing the math, I guess your boys must be sort of entering like into their teens now as well. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 15 and 18.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's yeah. So totally sort of like different phase of life for you with your business now as well. So how did you find when you first started? I know we've got a lot of listeners who are where their children are much younger than our teens are now. How did you find like getting into it and what are your tips for just getting going or if they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or how to actually just get started and find a rhythm that works for them? How did you do that in the early days?
Yeah. Well, my oldest was at school by then, so that was a little bit easier. And the younger one I had at home on my own most of the time. And yeah, it was just a case of initially it was like when he was asleep or when he was occupied. I was quite lucky that he was fairly independent-ish. He would go and play on his own for a little while. As long as he was in the same room as me, he would be quite happy to play.
Mm,
So it enabled me, therefore, to do a little bit of work here and there. So the initial first few years while I had him at home was hard, and it was a case of just snatching the hours here and there. When he did go to his dad that weekend, I'd do a little bit more. And things like that. So it was a case of trying not to beat myself up if I wasn't doing work because I knew I would be able to have an evening or weekend and things like that.
yeah.
And it was just trying to find what worked for me. And it took a little while to settle into a rhythm. And I just tried different things. So when he went to preschool, for example, it just meant I had a couple of hours where he was at preschool and then that I could focus on work. And then when he was home, I could focus on him and then we could do everything else with the kids after school. And then of an evening, once they've gone to bed, I'll do a little bit then. So it's just finding, I think we need to be kind to ourselves. I think we get so much mum guilt, don't we? And it's just like,
Yeah.
y- try not to listen to that voice in your head and just do what works for you because what works for you won't work for somebody else. Some people, their children need full attention. Sometimes they will be able to get in a half hour here or there. And it's just depends on what works for you and your children. One thing that we did do, and this was more for the holidays, I guess, when the children were off, was swapping play dates. So, like my
Oh,
friend would have boys, so I could have a day of work, and then we'd swap, and I'd have children and she'd go to work. So it's kind of doing little things like that as well, which really helped. I think if you've got parents in similar boats that are friends, then it's easier to do that. But I'm sure friends and family would love to spend some time with your children to let you work. And you can return the favour, even if it's not for them to go to work, it could be for them to have an evening out or something, or go out for the afternoon. It doesn't have to be like for like, as in what you're having the children for. But yeah, I found those were the biggest things I found. And then obviously once I was at school, it was a lot easier to work in school hours. And
Yeah.
yeah, but for years I worked in school hours, and that was it. I didn't do any more.
Yeah, no, that's such great points. And it definitely does get that a little bit easier once they're at school. And that's a lot of things that I work with my clients now is that 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. style of where we're doing everything in the school day. But when you have got the younger ones at home, that's such an important like message you shared there about not letting that mum guilt get to you because it's there every day without having a business, isn't it? Of all of the different things. Are we
Oh,
doing this right and that
yeah.
right? And yeah, but throw a business into the mix as well. And then we have that terror being torn between our kids and our laptops. Oh my goodness. So it's really good. I love that you shared about just doing what works for you and just not comparing to others of, everybody's routine and system is going to be different. Our kids are different. We need to hone in and build it around what works for them. And I love that you shared that. So well, you've mentioned that you've got a team, and I know with Pink Pig Financials, your company, that you've got a team as well. So how did you go around building up your team and finding people to work with? And one of the things that I love, it's kind of a double question now, but one of the things that I love you've said, and when we were looking at coming onto the podcast, is working with clients and customers as well that are aware of your family situation and working around the fact that you have children, and that if they don't like that, then that is up to them, that they can go and find and work with somebody else. It's okay. And I found that so empowering when you shared that it's really important to do that and for people to understand our situations because it's very different when we're running a business as a mum.
Yeah.
So building your team and finding people that also worked around their children, how did that go for you? How has that sort of helped you grow your business and get you to where you're doing now?
Yeah, well, my ideal client is someone in a similar situation to me anyway. So that helps that if they're in that situation, then they're going to appreciate my situation because it's also theirs. So I think from very, very early days, I've always been very open. I'm working flexibly around the boys, and I'm helping others to do the same. So therefore, they know what my situation is. And I've always been very upfront, always been sharing that. So I think from day one, clients have accepted that. And if they can't accept that, then they're clearly not the right person to work with me. And I think that's why having your ideal client is such, it's an important part of it because not only is it important for marketing purposes and things like that, but it also hones in on who's not right for you. And somebody who wants a corporate style accountant, they're not right for us. They're never going to like what we do. So why are we even trying to work with them? It's there's enough business for everybody, and not everyone's going to fit
Yeah.
your business. And I think having that ideal client reminds you of that, so you don't feel guilt and you don't feel that you have to take everybody because you can't work with everybody for a start. And yeah, I think it's really empowering, not only just having that for the marketing piece, but also empowering you as a business owner and what you're looking
Mm.
for, who you're looking for to work with. And the big part of it for me with the team was there wasn't that many flexible opportunities or part-time opportunities. And I recognise that there was a gap there, that so many women, especially, obviously, I know there's men that do it as well, but specifically more women than men do it, is they give up their careers for their children and they don't think that they can have a career and children. And I was really keen to give other mums an opportunity to progress their career while working part-time or flexibly around their children. So I knew from day one that I wanted somebody in a similar situation to me to be the first member of my team. And I did. I took on a fellow mum. Her boy at the time was just about to start school, her youngest. Um, and it was lovely that I was able to give her that opportunity to grow as a person, grow herself, and have something for herself, and not just be
Mm.
a mum. Because I think
Yeah.
so many people do fall into that, don't they? They just go, "Oh, I'm just a mum," or I'll just go and do this job because it fits, not because they want to, and it's not then
Mm,
getting fulfillment out of it.
yeah.
So, um, yeah, that was a really key part of it for me. And as I've grown the team, I wanted the same kind of opportunities for other people. We've never specifically just looked for women. We have had men apply in the past, but they've just not been the best for the job. So it's not my fault. But
It's
I
not.
do love it now. I used to really like be quite, oh yeah, we do ask men to join kind of thing when people would talk about my all-female team. But now I love it and I'm just like, yeah, we're an all-female team. Not by design, but it's happened the way it is. And I'm really proud that got that opportunity to have so many amazing women work for me now. And they're all working flexibly for different reasons. So as I kind of grew the team out, I realized it wasn't just mums that wanted flexible work. There was other people that wanted flexible work for other reasons. Dog walking, um, volunteering. A few of my team do volunteering work. One of them's in Guatemala at the moment doing some volunteering
Wow.
work. Um, and it just enabled them to be able to have a career alongside other passions in life. And you didn't need to
Mm,
choose the two then. And yeah, I absolutely love that. And the beauty of the business that I've built as well is because it is all online and all digital, we can work wherever we are in the world. All right, time zones sometimes are a bit of a nightmare, but we work with it. But it just means that my team have got that flexibility and they've got that ownership of their own life. So if they want to go and walk the dog while it's lovely and sunny, they can, and they've not
yeah.
got to wait till 5, 6 o'clock at night when it actually might be rainy and cold. They can go, oh, it's nice, I'm going to go now, and that's fine. So it's it's become a real passion of mine now, flexible working, because I'm such a big advocate for it, and I think it
Mm,
works for so many reasons. And I think as your children grow older, you have got into that 9 to 3 don't want to say mindset, 'cause it's not a mindset, but that routine,
mm,
and
yeah.
you may enjoy that routine, so why change it? Just because your children have gone to school and you're expected to go back 9 to 5, why? It's
Yeah.
one of them things, isn't it? So you can design your life how you want it to be, and there is no limits. And as long as you are open and share that with your clients, it's probably one of the reasons your clients are attracted to you, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I think it's so important nailing down who it is that your ideal client is, of not just who you want to work with, but what, that they can match and they understand. And it's the same sort of thing as you. And it's very much the same with me when I honed in on who I really love working with. I was working with all mums and then really love now knowing that I love working with. And the majority of my clients are mums like me that have got their own business doing that 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. style. And it just works for them. And I just think it's so admirable and amazing that you're doing it where you're offering it the opportunity for like we said, of the air quotes of being just a mum, to actually that they don't have to forget everything that they had and did and all of their skills and all of their passions that they had before they had their kids, to be able to bring that and do something in a work environment that gives them that flexibility and gets them to do. And I love you how you worded it, of like designing their life the way they want to, and that's what brings in their fulfillment. And that even it now that you've got people there that aren't necessarily mums, but it sits and suits their freedom to be able to walk the dog. And like now, for once here in Essex, it's actually sunny, that we want to go out and go for a walk rather than it being cold and wet. And being able to go and do the volunteering and Gossamer, that is amazing to be able to have that flexibility, because going back into a regular 9 to 5, we don't have that. We don't have that opportunity to still do our work and still do what we need to do at work, in businesses and in our careers, but be rigid so that we're then not able to have that freedom. And that can sometimes just cause some of that frustration and that lack of fulfillment. So I think it's incredible that's what you're doing and that your team has been built that way. I think that's really, really awesome.
Thank you.
So tell me more about your finance side of things, your Pink Pig finances and everything, and how that works. And because I know for us, especially running small business, the finance thing can be so scary. It can be so overwhelming. I'm really bad at keeping my finances on track. I try super hard to have on my CEO Fridays of check in, update my account, see where I'm at. But quite often I'll end up catching up 2 or 3 weeks or a month later, and just really like, I don't know, it can be just really overwhelming and sometimes not knowing where to start and that. So what sort of things do you see crop up with your clients with their small businesses, and how do you help them? And what tips do you have for us to sort of get on top of our finances, but have confidence with our money as well?
I think um, the key thing with finances is it is scary. And a lot of it is because we're not taught it at school.
Mm.
And the majority of business owners out there, you don't set up your business to do the finances. It's a byproduct of setting up a business. So it just always feels like, ugh, I don't really want to do that. It's bottom of the list and everything else. But taking the time to sit with your accountant and really understand your numbers. Like one of my most popular webinars was Know Your Numbers, and it was going through and explaining um, all the different parts of your accounts and what it means and everything. And that's what we've kind of taken through to our clients is we try and take the mystique out of it and the scare factor and just break it down and make it simple. One of the biggest tips I always have is do it little and often, because if you leave it, it kind of builds up and it becomes this massive thing in your head, doesn't it? And I
Yeah.
do it with other things, and it just builds up and builds up and builds up, and you just think, oh, I really don't want to do it. So you put it off more and more and more, and then it's like, for those who do tax returns as sole traders, you get to the 30th of January, like, I really need to do this now. And then you do it, and you're like, oh, it wasn't actually that bad. So
Yeah.
you've just spent all that time stressing, building it up, and it actually wasn't as bad as you thought. So little and often for me, like you say, CEO Fridays, I love that, by the way. A little bit and often, using software, making your life easier will just take so much of that pressure and the scare factor away because it'll make it fun. And I say fun, it's not fun, but you know what I mean? It makes it easier
Yeah.
and less scary. And yeah, it doesn't build up so much. And I think once you're up to date, you can then understand your numbers a bit better, because you can't understand your numbers if they're not up to date.
Mm.
And then once you can start to understand your numbers, you actually can then appreciate what's on in your business. And again, it takes another level of the scare factor away, because you know what that number means, and you know what this number means, and you know, okay, this could be my tax bill, but it's okay because I've got all this time to save up for it and put money aside and things like that. So yeah, little and often. And the one thing that we do with our clients as a minimum is like quarterly reporting, so that they do know where they're at. And we give them
Mhm.
tax estimations, because I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people put it off is they don't want to know how much the tax is, because either they haven't got the money, or they don't want to pay the money, or it always just a bit much. So we do these quarterly reports. So we say, right, this is where you're at year to date. If it carries on, this is where you're likely to be at the end of the year. Therefore, this is what your tax bill is likely to be. Put some money aside. And those that do put the money aside find it so much less stressful, because it comes round to the year end. We do their accounts, their tax return. They're like, oh, okay, yep, that's kind of what we was expecting, or less than we was expecting. But they've got the money sat there. So they're not
Mhm.
stressing. And they're like, okay, let's just carry on. And then they can focus on the thing that they need to focus on, running
Yeah.
their business, bringing the sales in, delivering the work, making the products, whatever it is they're doing. And I think that's such a key thing. If you spend too much time focusing and scared and worried about the money, you're not going to be delivering in the other
Yeah.
areas of your business that need it. So yeah, that education piece for me is so important. And all of our clients have got access to our online portal, which has got loads of different master classes, and we do take the time to answer their questions. I always encourage the questions. We've got an open door policy for our clients. So it's like, give me
Excellent.
questions. The more questions you ask, the more we can help you, the more we can help you understand, the more we understand you as a business owner and a person, so the better we can advise you. And again, it just takes that scare factor away, doesn't it? I always
Mm.
say the only silly question is the one you don't ask, because sometimes we may feel ashamed, embarrassed, scared to ask those inverted commas silly questions, but actually they're not silly questions. They're things that you need to know. So
Mm.
ask. We're not gonna we're not gonna make you feel silly for not knowing it. Um, Other accountants might, but we're not them. We're nice, we're friendly, and we want you to ask those questions. I think I think Molly May was saying that she'd go into board meetings and didn't understand half of the things that were being said, and she didn't feel like she could ask questions because she should have known it. And it's just like that. I felt really sad reading that in that book. So I was just like, well,
Mm.
why should you know it? It's
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
it's yeah, it's all about learning and learning business. It's a whole nother thing you need to learn, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, we start our businesses, we're going into it because you want to do something. We don't, and everything else become like the marketing, the emails, all of the finances, all becomes like part of it. And we don't realize that when we start it. And it can be such a beast. So I'm really glad that you shared about breaking it down and doing little and often, because that's definitely what has helped me over the last couple of years to finally get on board with doing it all. And I love that of the only silly question is not asking the question or not, that is just so true. I think we're just so afraid sometimes of being judged or someone looking at us, like you said, of like, are we stupid or something? And actually we can't know everything about everything, can we? So no, that's great. What are the biggest like questions you see come up? Are there a couple that you constantly get that you see all the time?
Um, a couple of them are like, what's the difference between gross profit and net profit? Um, and to answer that, if anyone else is thinking the same, gross profit is your sales, which is also known as turnover or revenue, because that can sometimes trip people up as well. So sales, turnover, revenue, all the same thing, the money you get in from selling your service or product, less the cost of delivering that product or service. So, for example, I think you said most of your clients are coaches. So for yourself, you probably haven't actually got a cost of sale because your cost of sale is your time. But if you was, example, in a manufacturing business or you was buying and making things to sell on, the buying of those materials would be your cost of sales. So you may have software that you resell or things like that. So that could be your cost of sales. So your sales loss cost less your cost of sales is your gross profit. Then you take off all the other expenses, which are also known as operating expenses, admin expenses, and overheads. So things like marketing costs, accountant costs, rent, phone bill, travel, all those type of things. And that's what gives you your net profit. And your net profit is what you get taxed on. There could be a few other little anomalies, but that is the basic calculation. And when we've explained that to people in the past, they're just like, ah, I get it now. It is, I think it can be really scary and such a big thing that you don't want to admit that you don't know. But it's okay to admit that. It really
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
So yeah, that's one of the biggest questions we get. The general, what can I put on my tax return? What can I include as an expense? Obviously, we get that, and we have got expenses guides for both sole traders and limited companies. And I'm more than happy to share the links for your listeners to download those if they'd like. Um, and a lot of people ask how they can save tax, obviously, because no one wants to pay more tax than they need to. We have a slightly different approach to that than probably most accountants. So most accountants will be bull in a china shop, let's reduce the tax, reduce, 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 make that profit as small as possible so you're paying as little tax as possible, which is great unless you've got a goal that needs you to show a healthy profit. For example, if you are looking to buy your dream house and get a mortgage, you're going to need to show enough profit to be able to get that mortgage. So
Mm.
therefore, we don't want to reduce that profit and save tax because you're not then going to get your house. So it's little things like that that we approach things differently because it's all about the business owner and what they want. So therefore, if you go into a conversation like that and just be like, I just want to save tax, that may not actually work for you. So it is changing people's mindsets around paying tax can actually be a good thing at times,
Yeah.
which no, you probably don't want to hear, but depending on your goals, it could be a good thing.
Yeah, it's so true as well. I mean, for years I was like, I don't want to pay tax. I don't want to have to pay tax. But actually doing it, I read it somewhere. I don't know which book it was in now, but it's embrace it. See it as a good thing because actually you're doing good. If you're having to pay tax and you got to that point that you're paying tax, then you're obviously doing something right. And I think that's really good that you've got that different mindset. Look at it, that actually what is the person's goals? What is your why behind everything you are doing? What do you want to achieve? That, yeah, we can cut all those things off at the bottom line, but actually, if you're wanting to show it good so that you can buy your dream home, then yeah, absolutely. I think that's great that you do that with them and that you actually look at what their end goal is with it all and their bigger vision to make sure that it's fitting rather than just going, right, let's just pay as little tax as we can. I think that that is really, really, really good. So, do you have any other tips before we wrap up on finances and like confidence with money as well? Because I know particularly you mentioned about the financial independence and as well as having confidence in money in your business and knowing what your finances are, but having that like financial independence. Because again, when we start our businesses, it's and especially with mums and working days and stuff of having time freedom. But we also want something that is, like you said, for ourselves and having that financial freedom and knowing that we are doing something that is for us and that financial freedom and knowing that we're standing on our own 2 feet, that we're looking after ourselves. How have you found that with you of like the empowerment of knowing that you are doing something for you and that it is your financial independence? Has that really been a big key player for you?
It has. I mean, I've always wanted to have a level of financial independence, and I've always wanted to be able to buy the things I want to buy when I want to buy them. I think a lot of people are in that mindset as well. They want to be able to do it. And for a while, I lost that, and I had to ask for money, and it was horrible. And
Mm.
I think the thing is, financial independence isn't necessarily having thousands and thousands in the bank to go and buy whatever you want, but it's knowing that you have got enough to cover your bills, to do the things that you need to do and want to do, having some fun money. And that's where the confidence part of it comes into play as well, because if you know you've got enough money coming in to pay for everything you need to do, that's a great feeling. That's so empowering that you're not reliant on anybody else to pay the bills. Or if you are in a marriage that you are 50-50, you're doing it how you want to be doing it or you're contributing. I think that's one of the biggest things I hear from specifically mums is that they have to ask their husbands for money or
Mm.
they don't feel like they're contributing because they're just at home with the children. Whereas if you are earning, even if it's only a little bit, you're contributing a little bit. And I find that so,
Yeah.
so empowering. But it also gives you choices. So for me, the work that I do with the survivors and things, not being able to support yourself is such a massive reason for people to stay in those situations because they don't see how
Mm.
they're going to be able to afford to live. They don't know how they're going to be able to feed their children and things like that. So they stay stuck. And I think it's that feeling trapped that really spurs me on in that. And it could be, I mean, I've obviously coming at it from the angle of my situation, but so many people are in unhappy marriages, for example, but don't want to leave because they think they can't afford to, or they're stuck in a job they don't like because they don't think they can get another job or do something else that's going to give them the same
Yeah.
amount of money. There's so many things that money keeps people stuck where they are, and having that independence gives you choices. And I think that's the thing, it's the choice that it gives you and empowers you to then make that choice and get out of whatever situation it is you want to get out of. Um, and I always say money confidence isn't about having like all this money, but it's about knowing what's going on, knowing you're in control of the money. It's knowing that not knowing that nothing's never going to go wrong again because things do go wrong. Things crop up, the car breaks down, you have to pay for it, but you've got a plan and you know how you're going to pay for these things. Um, for example, if you're in debt, you know how you're going to get out of debt. You know you're going to pay off the highest interest rate one first, for example. That's not right for everybody. That's just one way of doing it. But it's just all those little things. It's understanding what's going on and having the choices and the belief in yourself that you can handle whatever's.
Mhm.
And that I think is the biggest part of it because that's what sends people into despair and keeps people stuck and trapped in things they don't want to be in. I've
Yeah.
probably gone off on a bit of a tangent then, but I think that will make
No,
sense.
it does. I think it's a really good valid point, and I'm really thankful that you shared that. And it is very much whatever the situation is, like what you've been through, and that having to ask for be able to spend money and feeling trapped. And I've seen that in my own family circle over the years, and been view to that. And and then being, even just down to being stuck in a job because we have that golden handshake and everything. So yeah, I totally understand it, of just having that financial freedom. It's that peace of mind, isn't it, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
really, and giving you that peace of mind, security, and know that you are doing great and that you're able to look after yourself, and that it's not about having thousands and thousands. And I think that's a really good way to like wrapping up of looking at it, of that definition of success, that we see all that noise out there of like all the six figures and 10K months and stuff. But actually having that financial freedom is just knowing that you're set, you know what you're doing, you know where you are. Thank you so much. This has been such a great episode. As on so many other questions and things that I could chat with you about for ages with it. We'll definitely make sure that all of the links are in the show notes. I think the guides that you've got that you mentioned there, I think would be super, super useful, because I know a lot of my listeners are sole traders and or just in the early stages of their business and not really sure what's going on and everything as well. So I think that would be super useful for them. You've also got a freebie as well about finding and creating balance. Do you want to just share a little bit about that, and we'll make sure the link for that's in the show notes too?
Yeah, cool. So for me, finding balance has been a big part of it. And being a really big introvert means I've had to really balance a lot of things as well. And yeah, so I've put together 5 tips. I don't want to ruin it by sharing what they are, but 5 tips to finding balance, to work around your life and your business and all the other things that you want to do. So yeah, it's a series of 5 tips over, I want to say 5 days, and I can't remember now what I've set it up as, which is really fun.
Sorry.
Um, yeah, no, it's 5 tips over 5 days of things that I've implemented myself in my business, that's really helped me to achieve balance and enjoy working rather than just feel like I'm living to work.
Love it. It sounds amazing. We will make sure that that is in the show notes and all of your links. If people want to go and check you out, I've got one question I always like to ask all of my guests before we wrap up. But before we dive into that one, just want to share, if people want to go and find out more about you, what you do, your Pink Pig finances, where can they find you?
Yeah, probably the easiest place is on Instagram. I am Cheryl Sharp. And then from there, there's links to all the websites and everything else. So yeah, that's the easiest place. And that's probably where
Fantastic.
I'm most present as well.
Okay, great. Wonderful. We shall make sure that that is in there too. So definitely go and look Cheryl up, go and say hi, connect with her, let her know that you've listened to this episode. And then before we finish, the question that I always love asking all of my guests is, what does being an unapologetic mumpreneur mean to you? And how do you show up unapologetically every day, both as a mum and the boss of your business?
I think it means to me ditching the guilt, because we are both mums, we're both entrepreneurs, and there's a whole lot of guilt in there. So being unapologetic and ditching that guilt and doing what we need to do when we need to do it, and also be present when we need to be present, finding that balance and going for it, building that business that you dream of. And it doesn't need to be what everyone else thinks it should be, it's what you want it to be.
I love it. That's amazing. I could not agree more. Thank you so much for everything today. It's been amazing. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for listening and watching on YouTube if you're doing that too. Make sure, if you're not already, to subscribe so that you don't miss any more amazing guest episodes just like this one. And I will catch you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me for another installment of the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I would love for you to leave me a rating and a review so that other mompreneurs can find this podcast too. Here's to unapologetically becoming the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. I can't wait to chat with you in the next episode. Bye for now.